Okay, this poem is called Mountain. And I pray I remember it. It came out of a writing exercise. So you know Russian dolls? When you open it and then a smaller doll comes, you get a smaller doll and then a smaller doll. So this is the same, but as a writing exercise. And it's supposed to be, instead of the dolls getting smaller, the dolls get bigger, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So we're starting from the inside. I opened my mother's heart and found a straw mat. On it, a grief-stricken woman wrapped in a black blanket. A village in a room telling her not to cry. Fist clenched. I opened her fist and found a young girl, 13, virginal, cooking for her brother. Proud floral dress in front of an open flame, a hovering aunt supervising white samp in a black pot. I opened the black pot and found a mountain. A 16-year-old boy, barefoot, wrapped in a white blanket with a red stripe. Men sitting around sharing secrets of manhood. A smoking fire in a thatched hut. I opened the door to the hut and found an ocean. My father, who had never cried, kept a secret, buried his son, a checked blanket no one could ever use. I don't know if I have a genre or if I fit into a specific category, but I do know that I definitely speak from a black woman voice. This doesn't mean that my poetry is only about black women.
Yeah.
It just comes from a black woman perspective, and so that's where I tell my stories from.
So you say, your poem's quite political as well?
Definitely. I think that, everything we do is political. We take a stance or we don't take a stance, and that's a political decision. So I'm very affected by politics. I come from a family that that is political by nature. My father was political, my uncles were political, my aunts were political, on both sides of my family. So I'm definitely very affected by politics, but that's probably because I'm very affected by people. So yeah.
So is the language of reclaiming a black narrative still relevant, or do you say that the black narrative has been reclaimed?
Black people have a long way to go in terms of telling their own stories. Yeah. From owning our own publishing houses to making sure that our stories are told honestly and truthfully in a way that that is reflective of who we are. Because if I come into a community and I start telling their story, I'm not going to understand it in their voice. And I think that's what's happening. We're finding a lot of white historians or white storytellers telling black stories. And though it's great to hear that these stories are being told, we need to start telling our own stories more. There's an East African saying that says, for as long as the elephants don't have their own historians, the tale of the hunt will always be told to glorify the hunter. And we definitely need to reclaim the black narrative, but also we need to understand what the black narrative is and understand that things have changed. So we're not necessarily talking about everybody going back to a beautiful green lush land with huts and us walking around barefoot, and that's not and I'm not saying that in a condescending way, because this is part of our history, and it's a beautiful part of our history, but it is part of our history, and where we are now as black people is not necessarily the same way. And so we need to find a way of reconciling the shift, the tide, the times that have changed, and where we are now, where we want to be, where we see ourselves, how we see our own impact in this world, So it's really important, but that also involves a building of a psyche, an understanding of our own place, understanding that we have a contribution to make, that we are people and we are rightful owners of this space of our time. I mean, we're talking about 300 odd years of damage, right? And so that's not going to be undone easily. That's not going to be unlearned. And also, Harriet Tubman said, I freed 1,000 slaves and I would have freed 1,000 more had they known they were slaves. So there are a lot of people who walk around not knowing the importance of knowing your language, your home language, or knowing that when your mother does something, she's not backwards. Unlearning backwards, unlearning uncivilized, unlearning heathen, unlearning dark. There's a long way to go. There is a long way to go, but I'm hopeful. I mean, it'll happen eventually. If there are men sitting in one corner and they're talking about women, or so maybe they're bragging, but their women are standing, are sitting close by. So these women are, say, chewing tobacco. So there's this thing where a woman will spit her tobacco and it will land just close by to the man, and he'll keep quiet because she's made her point, but she didn't have to say anything, So I think that we tend to get caught up in the loudness of things and think that quiet is submissive or quiet is polite, but there is a lot of strength and power in doing things silently, and not, women in Kenya wanted to have the parliamentarians pass a new law. They withheld their conjugal rights. So all the men in parliament were not having sex with their wives, and that was a powerful statement where women came together. But it wasn't a loud revolution. It was a quiet one, and it got things done. So I don't think polite is the opposite of anger at all.
Okay. What is the poet's role in society? Do you see it as part of this?
Yeah.
Carry on. Sorry.
I think about this question a lot, the role of the poet. And I don't, and I know this is going to upset many people because we all because there's a self-importance that we attach to poetry. But I think that the poet's role is not unlike the dentist's role or the stylist's role. We're all human beings and we need to do our part in changing the world. So one of the things that really changed my way of thinking was when I went to the Thabo Mbeki African Leadership Institute, and you get to interact with people who are from different backgrounds, not just political backgrounds. So there are accountants, there are architects, there are, everybody comes from a different space. And the idea is that we need to become thought leaders. We need to start impacting our own spaces. So if you are a black accountant, you need to be the best black accountant you can be. You need to be the best accountant you can be. And you need to make room for other black aspiring accountants to be able to come through. So we can't get stuck in only black or first black. We need to have many black accountants. And if you are part of making it easier for someone else to do it, then you're contributing. And poetry is about storytelling. And if we are truthfully telling stories and we are truthfully reflecting our society, and by our society doesn't mean just the angry narrative, it's also love poetry, it's also, because if I want to talk about a beautiful sunny day. This is my experience of a beautiful sunny day. But if I'm telling my stories honestly and truthfully, and I'm giving other people a space to feel like they can also tell their story honestly and truthfully, then I'm doing my bit, you know. I love the man who raped you, friend. There's no easy way to say it. Some stones are best left unturned, secrets left untold. His poems are best left unheard. He's dark, a bewitching mystery, mommy telling me to stay away. I want to lose myself in his head, explore his broken splendor. Ugly on a full moon is enchanting, like the men who raped me. Nothing grotesque. Kissed him willingly even. Wished his tongue would fix my broken, maybe. He tore me open, shared me with a friend. I remember, I wish he looked like a monster. A warning label on a box of cigarettes. I would have known to stay away then. Someone calls him love. Someone knows him beautiful, makes lies of scars and tears and blood-stained panties. Someone only knows his hands as holding. I love the man who raped you, friend. There's no easy way to say it. I wish I'd left that stone unturned. Secrets untold. His poems are best left unheard.
Ooh. It's very powerful.
So how do you marry that your modernist and traditionalist kind of... Do you deal with that in your poetry?
I try
Because you
to.
obviously have to interact with it quite a bit.
I try to. I mean,
try to what?
I try to deal with the balance of being a modern day woman and being a Xhosa woman from Efalbang. I think that, I mean, I'm trying to deal with it in my poetry, but I'm also really just trying to grapple with it in my own life. So it becomes, it's a tug of war sometimes, because sometimes westernized fire-breathing Vangi doesn't understand when Vangi is in Falbank and she's, you know, happily going about serving these men and making sure, oh, you know, not only will I give you your plate of food, I will come fetch the plate from you, I'll bring you something to wash your hands. You don't have to move, you don't have to do a thing, you know. But I can't, I don't know, I'm still trying. I have a poem called Friday Afternoon Q, where I talk about a woman called Meg Ladders.
Can you read? Can you do it? Can you perform it for me? So I've got a poem, but then I need you to stand up and perform it there.
Okay. Behind me, an old woman eats a sandwich. Just bread. No butter, no milk. Another keeps asking me the time. She has to fetch her granddaughter from creche. Says she was waiting for the madam to come back from work. Couldn't leave the children unattended. I recognize Meg Gladys a few people ahead of me. She works as a teller at the BP garage. Her husband left her sometime last year after she had her ovaries removed. Said he couldn't be with someone who couldn't give him children. He is 61. They have 2 sons and a daughter together. In the past 30 minutes, only one taxi has passed. Meg Gladys is now at the front of the queue. This makes me happy. She's been through so much. I notice only 2 men stand in this line. Many walk past. A few carry black plastic bags. I remember that it's Friday. Quite insignificant though, considering these women who've been ironing and cleaning all day. They still have to cook and wash their grandchildren.
Thanks.
Okay, I've got 2 more poems, if that's okay, and then I'll be done. This poem, yeah. Because my father fought for you. He gave himself to you. Instead of spending time with us, he lay on cement floors, behind bars, under beds, in wardrobes, behind dustbins for you. He forced my mother up and down from prisons to hospitals to prisons, baby on back searching for him because of you. For you, my mother nursed, sold, sewed, worked hard when he couldn't work for us because he worked for you. So I expect more from you. Because my uncle left home post-matric for you. Became a child with a gun in foreign bushes for you. He left his leg in Lusaka for you. His parents were raided, covered up, worked thrice as hard for you. So I expect more from you. Because Umagazi lay on London benches for you. My aunt got kicked out of school, left home hidden in bakkies, was locked up in dark cells counting imaginary stars for you. She lost her love and buried her child in an unnamed grave for you. Even when you abandoned her across the oceans, she gave herself to you. Even when you tried to kill her, she served you in green and black, fist high, proud for you. So I expect more from you. I remember when we first saw your face, my mother sang for you. In long queues with ID books and skaftinas, she signed for you. Gave her voice to you, understood when Udada said it would take time. With her last cents, she supported you because you were the dream they had for us. So if for no other reason but for her, I expect more from you. More than you, who doesn't even remember her name. Who doesn't appreciate that she still signs for you. Years later, neck high in rent and taxi fare, unable to buy groceries. Even when you rub your theft in her face, she prays for you, gives to you, no longer expects from you. But I expect more from you. More than a limping uncle struggling to get your attention. Poor veteran, still holding on to dreams conjured up in Lusaka. Still believing all those years away from home will pay off someday. I expect more than umakazi ononyanyayo because your taking never stops. Lifetimes later struggling with hospital bills while you flaunt blue label luxuries in her face and pretend you don't remember her behind your high walls and tinted windows. I expect more from you because as much as you gave to us, we gave to you, always, with our lives and our limbs and our children. We gave for a dream you keep taking from us. With each cross you take, and all we get are broken promises, cheap t-shirts, ochomi on pot-belly stages. We get raped by our fathers, our homes get broken into, and still your taking never stops. We have filled your stadia. We have sung your praises. We have devoted our lives to you. So damn it, I expect more from you. I want to speak to my children, those who have been forced out of their homes in the middle of the night and those who remain sleeping, warm in comfortable beds. I want to speak to the youth of 76, the children of Sierra Leone, the lost boys of Sudan. I want to hold each and every one of them in my arms and whisper courage into their ears. Tell them that they will spark revolutions or forever stand as a reminder for our need to repent
I want to assure them that God has not grown tired of them, and that their homes, though broken, are not beyond repairs. Come to me, my little ones. Come to me. Ours is the bond of mother and child, deeply rooted in the cradle of humankind, reaching far beyond the Kalahari and the Sahara. You, little Anatis and Adiwales, you need to know the Nubian truth. You need to know of how the Kush decorated your homes and filled them with art and knowledge and architecture and walls that were books. You need to know that you come from a people who spoke with stars long before they were sold astrology. Bring me my children. Let them come and sit at my feet. I want to tell them magnificent tales of how their fathers were heroes. Paint them a portrait of Isandlwana and then take them to Al Obeid and Sheikh Khan. I want to journey with them to the beautiful forgotten lands of Tetu and Menelik, where we won colossal victories against the dark forces of colonization. You see, my children need to know that we have our own epic stories, and that they are the historians of lions. Lions who have left many scars on the face of this audacious hunt. And when my children sleep, I need them to dream. Dream of the courageous Yasantwe, the beautiful Queen Makeda, of Kemet and Sangoy and Timbuktu, of Nkrumah, Nyere, Lumumba. And then I want my children to arise, to write for Gaddafi and South Sudan, write for Zimbabwe and the DRC, write of the Pan-Africanist movement and the hypocrisies of the international criminal courts. Tell us what is to be, my young lion scribes. Call all my children to me. Tell them to come home. Tell them youth is purpose. Tell them to learn and to remember that though history has already been told, theirs is the future. Beautiful, purposed, triumphant, as we have always been. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. I know that, if you do anything else and you chose to share poetry with Prince Gazi and I, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.